Hi everyone. Welcome to today's listening exercise. The story you're about to hear is designed to help you train your listening skills. Listen carefully, and don't worry if you don't understand everything at first. You can repeat it as many times as you need. Listen, sleep with it, and come back to it again. For even better results, try writing down the key points every 3 minutes. This will help you remember the story and really understand it. So get comfortable, focus, and enjoy the story. Let's start training your listening skills. First day at Riverside High. It was a cold Monday morning when Daniel arrived at his new school. His heart was beating very fast. The school was called Riverside High. It was a big place, full of students walking, talking, and laughing. Daniel felt very small among them. He walked slowly, carrying his backpack close to his chest. Daniel was 15 years old. He was tall, but he walked with his head down. He was shy, and speaking with other people was very hard for him. His parents had told him, "Don't worry, Daniel, everything will be fine." But he was not sure. Inside the building, the noise was loud. Lockers opened and closed, shoes hit the floor. Groups of students were everywhere. Some talked about homework, some laughed about weekend stories. Daniel wanted to disappear. He wished he could be invisible. The bell rang, and everyone moved to their classrooms. Daniel checked his schedule. His first class was English with Mr. Carter, room 203. He walked down the hall, nervous and shaking. When he entered, many eyes looked at him. His face turned red. "Class, this is Daniel," said Mr. Carter. "He is new here." "Hello," Daniel whispered. His voice was so soft that almost no one heard him. A few students giggled. "Welcome, Daniel," said Mr. Carter kindly. "Please sit near the window." Daniel sat down quickly and opened his notebook. He kept his eyes on the desk. He didn't dare to look at anyone. During the lesson, Mr. Carter asked the class to introduce themselves. One by one, students stood up. They spoke about their names, hobbies, and favorite subjects. When it was Daniel's turn, he froze. His hands were sweating. My name is Daniel," he said. I like reading." It was short, but at least he said something. Some students smiled, others didn't care. At lunchtime, Daniel walked to the cafeteria. The room was full of voices, the smell of food, and the sound of chairs moving. He took a tray, got some food, and looked around. All the tables were full of groups laughing and talking. Daniel didn't know anyone. He sat alone in the corner. He ate slowly, listening to the noise around him. He wanted to join a group, but he didn't know how. Every time he thought about speaking, his throat closed. He stayed quiet until the bell rang again. When the day ended, Daniel walked home. His heart felt heavy. The first day was over, but he already felt tired. He asked himself, "Will I ever make friends here?" A difficult start. The second day of school was not easier. Daniel woke up early, but he was not excited. He thought about the cafeteria, about the introductions, and about the eyes watching him. He didn't want to go, but he had no choice. At Riverside High, things moved quickly. In the morning, Daniel walked through the hall. Students stood in groups talking about music, sports, and homework. Daniel walked past them silently. In math class, he sat at the back. He didn't look at anyone. He tried to listen to the teacher, but his mind was full of worry. After class, something happened. A boy named Jason, one of the popular students, noticed Daniel. Jason had many friends and liked to make jokes. He walked up to Daniel and said loudly, "Hey, new boy, do you even talk?" Some students laughed. Daniel's face turned red. He wanted to answer, but the words stayed inside. He looked down and walked away. "Wow, so shy," Jason said, and everyone laughed again. Daniel felt small, like a shadow. He hated the feeling. At lunchtime, Daniel sat alone again. He looked at his tray. He pushed the food around with his fork. Suddenly, a girl sat down next to him. "Hi," she said with a smile. "I'm Emma. You're Daniel, right?" Daniel looked surprised. Nobody had sat with him before. "Yes," he answered quietly. Emma smiled. "I saw you in English class. Don't worry about Jason. He is always loud. Just ignore him." Daniel wanted to say more, but his throat felt dry. He only nodded. Emma didn't seem to mind. She talked a little about herself, about her favorite books, and how she liked art. Daniel listened carefully. "You like reading, right?" Emma asked. "Yes," Daniel said softly. "That's great. Maybe one day we can talk about books," Emma said. She gave him another smile and stood up. "See you later." Daniel felt a small light in his chest. It was the first time someone had been kind to him at school. The day still had problems. Jason and his friends laughed at him in the hallway. He felt embarrassed many times, but the memory of Emma's smile stayed with him. For the first time, Daniel thought, maybe things can change. The English Project. 1 week later, Mr. Carter gave the class a new project. "You will work in groups of 3, he said. "Each group will prepare a short story in English. Next week, you will present it to the class." The class became noisy. Everyone looked for partners. Daniel felt panic. He didn't know who to ask. He was sure no one would want him. Then, Mr. Carter said, "Daniel, you can work with Emma and Lily." Emma smiled at him. Lily, her best friend, also waved. Daniel's heart beat fast. He was happy but also afraid. Working in a group meant speaking. After class, they sat together. Emma said, "We can make a story about friendship." "That sounds nice," said Lily. "What do you think, Daniel?" Daniel looked down. He wanted to speak, but it was hard. Finally, he whispered, "It's good." Emma nodded gently. "Don't worry, Daniel. Take your time." They began working. Emma wrote some ideas, Lily added drawings, and Daniel listened. Slowly, he tried to add small words. "What if the friends help each other?" he said. "Yes," Emma said. "That's perfect." Daniel felt proud. It was only one sentence, but they liked it. For the first time, he was part of a group. At home, Daniel practiced in front of the mirror. He repeated words. He read the story again and again. His parents noticed and encouraged him. When the day of the presentation arrived, Daniel's stomach hurt. He was nervous. The classroom was full. Jason and his friends were at the back, whispering and laughing. Emma began first, then Lily spoke. Finally, it was Daniel's turn. His hands shook. He opened his mouth. My name is Daniel," he said. "Our story is about friendship." His voice was soft, but it was clear. The room was quiet. Some students listened carefully. He continued, step by step, until his part was finished. When they finished, the class clapped. Daniel felt his face warm, but this time it was not from shame. It was from something new. Courage. Finding his voice. The project changed something inside Daniel. He was still shy, but now he knew he could speak. The applause gave him a little strength. After the presentation, Emma told him, "You were great, Daniel. You see, people want to hear you." Lily added, "Yes, don't be afraid. You have a good voice." Daniel smiled for the first time at school. It was small, but it was real. The next days, Daniel tried small steps. In the cafeteria, he said hello to Emma and Lily. They welcomed him warmly. In class, when Mr. Carter asked a question, Daniel raised his hand once. His answer was short but correct. Not everyone was kind. Jason still teased him sometimes. One afternoon, Jason said loudly, "Careful, the new boy might whisper at you." The class laughed. Daniel felt the old pain, but Emma whispered to him, "Ignore him. You're stronger now." Daniel took a deep breath. For the first time, he looked at Jason and said softly, "At least I try." The room went quiet. Jason didn't expect that. Some students even nodded. Daniel felt a strange power. He had spoken back. Later, in English class, Mr. Carter gave Daniel a book. "I think you will like this," he said. "Your love for reading will help your speaking." Daniel read the book at home. He practiced the words aloud. Slowly, his confidence grew. One Friday, Emma invited him to sit with her group at lunch. Daniel sat down nervously, but the girls made space for him. They talked about homework and movies. Daniel listened and sometimes added a word or two. Nobody laughed at him. For the first time, he felt like part of something. The school didn't feel so big and scary anymore. A new chapter. Weeks passed, and Daniel began to change. He was still quiet, but no longer invisible. He learned small things. How to say "good morning" in the hall, how to ask someone, "Can I sit here?" How to laugh at a joke. Emma and Lily became his friends. They encouraged him, waited for his answers, and respected his silence. Little by little, he spoke more. Mr. Carter noticed the difference. One day he said, "Daniel, I am proud of you. You are learning not only English but also how to share your voice." Daniel smiled shyly. "Thank you, sir." Even Jason seemed less powerful now. His jokes didn't hurt so much. Some classmates even told Jason to stop. Daniel felt stronger. One morning, Daniel walked into Riverside High with his head a little higher. The hall was still noisy, but he was not afraid. He knew he had friends. He knew he could speak. At the cafeteria, he sat with Emma and Lily. They laughed together about a funny story. Daniel said a sentence, and they all laughed. He realized his voice could bring joy. When the final bell rang, Daniel walked home with a small smile. The first days had been dark and lonely, but now the school felt like a new chapter in his life. He was still shy, but he was no longer silent. He had found his voice, and it was only the beginning. The school library. The library at Riverside High was quiet, calm, and full of books. Daniel loved it from the first day he found it. While other students played basketball or sat outside, Daniel walked into the library. He felt safe there. The librarian, Mrs. Green, was kind and soft-spoken. She noticed how Daniel came almost every afternoon. One day she asked, "You like reading, don't you?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, I like it." "What kind of books do you enjoy?" she asked. Daniel hesitated, then whispered, "Adventure and stories about friendship." Mrs. Green smiled. "Good choice. I think I have something for you." She gave him a book called The Brave Traveler. Daniel opened it and felt excited. The words were simple, but the story was strong. That afternoon, Emma and Lily came into the library too. They saw Daniel sitting by the window with his book. Emma whispered, "Look, there he is. He loves reading." They walked over. "Hi, Daniel," Lily said cheerfully. Daniel looked up, surprised. "Oh, hi." Emma asked, "What are you reading?" Daniel showed them the cover. "It's about a boy who travels alone." That sounds interesting, Emma said. Can you tell us the story later? Daniel froze. Could he explain it? Could he speak long sentences? He felt nervous, but he wanted to try. Maybe? Yes. From that day, Daniel began spending time in the library not only reading, but also preparing to tell small parts of the stories to Emma and Lily. At first, his words were broken and slow, but the girls listened with patience. For Daniel, the library became a place of courage. Each page he read was a step toward using his voice. The talent show. One morning, Mr. Tuckharter made an announcement. Students, next month we will have the annual Riverside Talent Show. Everyone is welcome to participate. The classroom filled with noise. Some students wanted to sing, others to dance, and some to play instruments. Jason and his friends laughed loudly, planning a comedy act. Daniel stayed quiet. The idea of standing in front of the whole school was terrifying. But when he walked home that day, Emma ran beside him. Daniel, she said, you should join the talent show. What? No. Daniel shook his head quickly. I can't. Why not? Emma asked. You could read a story. You love books. Daniel's stomach twisted. The thought of reading in front of hundreds of students made him want to hide. No, I'm too shy. Emma looked at him kindly. You don't have to decide now, but think about it. Maybe this is your chance to show everyone your voice. That night, Daniel thought about her words. He imagined standing on stage, holding a book, reading aloud. His hands shook even at the idea, but part of him wanted to try. At the library, Mrs. Green told him, sometimes books are not only for reading, sometimes they are for sharing. Daniel looked at the shelves and whispered to himself, maybe. Practice and doubt. Daniel decided to try, but he didn't tell anyone except Emma and Lily. Together, they met after school in the library. Emma said, Okay, Daniel, let's practice. Just read this part out loud. Daniel held the book, but his hands shook. He read one sentence, then stopped. His voice was so soft that even Lily could hardly hear. It's okay, Emma said. Take your time. Try again. He tried again, louder this time. Still, every mistake made him blush. I can't do it, he said finally. Everyone will laugh. No, they won't, Lily said firmly. You are better than you think. Daniel wanted to believe them, so he practiced every day. Sometimes he read well, sometimes he froze. He had nights when he thought, I will quit, it's too hard. But then he remembered Emma's words, this is your chance to show your voice. The week before the talent show, Jason found out, the shy boy will read a book? That's the best joke, he shouted in the hall. His friends laughed loudly. Daniel felt crushed. His old fear returned. That evening, he told Emma, I can't do it. Jason will laugh. Everyone will laugh. Emma looked straight into his eyes. Daniel, if you stop now, Jason wins. Do you want that? Daniel stayed silent. Deep inside, he didn't want Jason to win. The big day. The night of the talent show arrived. The auditorium was full of students, parents, and teachers. Lights shone on the stage. Laughter and excitement filled the air. Daniel stood backstage, shaking. His hands were sweaty, his mouth dry. Emma and Lily stood with him. You can do it, Emma whispered. One by one, students performed. Dancers moved with energy. Singers sang loud songs. Jason and his friends performed a comedy act. People laughed and clapped. Then it was Daniel's turn. His legs felt weak. He walked to the microphone holding his book. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. The room was huge. Hundreds of eyes were watching. He opened the book. His voice was tiny. This is a story about courage. Some people whispered. Jason laughed loudly. We can't hear you. Daniel's face turned red. He wanted to run, but then he saw Emma and Lily in the front row, smiling and nodding. He took a deep breath. This is a story about a boy who was afraid but learned to be brave. His voice grew stronger. He read slowly, clearly. At first, the room was restless, but as he continued, it became quiet. Students listened. Parents leaned forward. Even Jason stopped laughing. When Daniel finished, there was silence for 1 second. Then the audience clapped. Some stood up. The sound filled the room. Daniel's heart was racing, but now it was from joy. For the first time in his life, he felt proud of his voice. A new confidence. After the show, many students came to Daniel. That was great, one said. You read so well, another added. Even Mr. Carter shook his hand. I knew you could do it, Daniel. You were brave tonight. Daniel smiled, shy but happy. He felt light, as if a heavy stone had been lifted from his chest. The next day at school, people looked at him differently. Some said hello in the hall. Others asked about the book he read. For once, Daniel was not invisible. Jason still made jokes, but they were weaker now. Nobody laughed as much. Daniel realized that Jason's power was not so strong anymore. At lunch, Emma and Lily invited him to sit with their group of friends. Daniel joined them. He spoke a little, laughed a little, and listened a lot. But he was part of the group. From that week on, Daniel's days at Riverside High were not only about silence and fear. They were about trying, learning, and slowly becoming himself. He knew he would always be a little shy. But now he also knew something bigger. He was not alone, and his voice mattered. And with every small word he spoke, a new chapter of his life began. A small argument. After the talent show, Daniel felt different at Riverside High. He had friends, teachers respected him more, and even strangers sometimes smiled at him in the hallway. But life at school was not always easy. One Friday afternoon, during lunch, Daniel sat with Emma and Lily. They were laughing about a TV show. Daniel listened, and sometimes he added a few words. Suddenly, Lily said, Daniel, you should talk more. We always want to hear you. Daniel's face turned red. He wanted to answer, but the words stuck. Emma noticed and quickly said, It's okay, Lily. Daniel speaks when he's ready. Lily frowned. But if he never talks, how can we know him? Sometimes it feels like he doesn't care. Daniel's stomach dropped. He cared a lot. But speaking was still hard. He whispered, I do care. But the girls didn't hear him. For the rest of lunch, Daniel stayed quiet. When he went home, he felt sad. For the first time, he worried about losing his friends. That night, Daniel sat in his room with his book open but couldn't read. He thought about Lily's words. Was he really too quiet? Was he failing as a friend? His mom came in and asked, Is something wrong, Daniel? He sighed. I don't talk enough. My friends, they think I don't care. His mom touched his shoulder. True friends will wait for your words, but remember, Daniel, friendship is also about effort. Maybe you can try to share more, little by little. Daniel nodded. He didn't want to lose Emma or Lily. He decided he would try harder. The group project, again, a week later, Mr. Carter gave the class another group project. This time, students had to create a short play in English. You will perform it in front of the class, he explained. When Daniel heard the word perform, his heart started to beat fast again. But when Emma said, "Let's work together again," he agreed. Emma, Lily, and Daniel met in the library. Lily said, "We should write something funny." Emma smiled. "Or something about friendship again." Daniel hesitated, then said, "Maybe, both." The girls looked at him, surprised. "That's a good idea," Emma said. This time, Daniel spoke a little more. He suggested lines, and sometimes the girls laughed at his ideas. Lily seemed happy to hear his voice again. When they practiced the play, Daniel had only a small role, but even that made him nervous. "What if I forget my line?" he asked. Emma said, "We'll be here with you, don't worry." On presentation day, Daniel stood with his friends in front of the class. He said his lines softly but clearly. The class laughed at the right time. When they finished, Mr. Carter clapped. "Well done," he said. "All of you worked together. And Daniel, I am proud you spoke with confidence." Daniel felt warm inside. This time he wasn't just a silent partner. He was part of the team. A school trip spring came, and the school announced a trip to the Science Museum. Daniel had never been on a school trip before. The thought made him nervous, but Emma and Lily said, "You must come. It will be fun." On the bus ride, students sang, laughed, and shouted. Daniel sat by the window, holding his bag. Emma sat next to him. "Don't worry, we'll stay together," she said. At the museum, groups of students explored the exhibits. Daniel stayed close to Emma and Lily. They saw dinosaur bones, space models, and science experiments. At one point, Jason appeared. He smirked. "Careful, Daniel. Don't get lost. You might be too quiet to ask for help." His friends laughed. Daniel's face burned. He wanted to answer but couldn't. Emma frowned. "Ignore him," she whispered. Later, the teacher asked each group to write down questions about the exhibits. Daniel surprised himself by asking, What is this machine for?" The guide explained kindly, and Emma whispered, "See? That was brave." By the end of the trip, Daniel had asked 3 small questions. They were simple, but for him, they were victories. On the way back, he even joined in when Emma and Lily sang quietly on the bus. His voice was soft, but it was there. Jason's challenge. Even after the talent show, Jason still bothered Daniel. One afternoon in the gym, Jason walked up to him. "Hey, shy boy," he said, "why don't you play basketball with us? Or are you too scared to talk, let alone play?" Daniel froze. He didn't know what to say. But then Emma, who was nearby, said, "Daniel doesn't have to prove anything to you." Jason smirked. "So he needs you to defend him? That's sad." Daniel's chest tightened. He hated feeling weak. That night, he thought about it. Was Jason right? Did he always need others to speak for him? The next day, during gym class, the teacher asked if anyone wanted to join a short basketball game. To everyone's surprise, Daniel raised his hand. He wasn't good at basketball. He missed many shots. Jason laughed at him. But Daniel kept playing. He ran, passed the ball, and even tried to block Jason once. When the game ended, Daniel was sweaty and tired. He had scored no points. But Emma and Lily clapped. "You were amazing," Emma said. Jason smirked but said nothing. For Daniel, it was not about winning, it was about trying. For the first time, he had stood in Jason's world without running away. A letter to himself. At the end of the school year, Mr. Carter gave the students a special assignment. "Write a letter to yourself," he said. "Write about what you have learned this year and what you hope for the future." Daniel sat at his desk, pen in hand. At first, he didn't know what to write. But slowly, words came. Dear Daniel, when the year started, you were afraid. You sat alone, you could not speak, and you thought you would never make friends. But you tried. You spoke one word, then one sentence, then more. You read in front of the whole school. You made friends. You found courage. You are still shy, but that is okay. Being shy does not mean being weak. Next year, you hope to speak even more. You hope to join more groups. You hope to keep your friends, and you hope to remember that your voice matters. When he finished, Daniel read the letter again. His eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears. For the first time, he saw how far he had come. On the last day of school, Mr. Carter collected the letters. I will give them back to you next year, he said. As Daniel walked out of Riverside High that summer, he felt ready for the future. He was still the shy boy, but not only shy, he was also the boy who had learned to be brave. Block 16. Back to school. The summer holiday passed faster than Daniel expected. He had enjoyed some quiet days at home, reading books and playing games. But deep inside, he was already thinking about going back to Riverside High for his second year. His first year had been hard, but also special. He had made friends with Emma and Lily, and even stood up to Jason a few times. Still, Daniel knew that being shy was not something that disappeared in just 1 year. On the first day of the new school year, Daniel walked through the school gates with his backpack hanging a little too heavy on his shoulders. The hallways were crowded with students, some older, some new. The sound of voices filled the air, mixed with laughter and excitement. Daniel's heart beat faster. He remembered how nervous he had been on his very first day last year. This time, however, things felt a little different. He was not alone anymore. Daniel? A cheerful voice called. He turned and saw Emma waving at him, smiling brightly. Lily stood beside her, holding a new notebook with colorful stickers on it. Daniel's lips formed a small smile. Hi, he said softly, but inside he felt warmer than the sun outside. The three friends walked together to their classroom. The walls looked the same, but Daniel noticed one new detail. A tall girl with curly dark hair sitting by the window. She looked confident, her eyes scanning the room like she already knew where she belonged. Mr. Carter, their English teacher, soon introduced her. Class, this is Sophia. She just moved here. Let's welcome her. Everyone clapped politely. Sophia smiled, waved, and said in a strong voice, Nice to meet you all. Daniel felt a strange mix of admiration and worry. She was so different from him. She spoke with no fear. He wondered if he could ever be like that. During lunch, Emma, Lily, and Daniel sat under their usual tree. But Sophia came over too. Mind if I join? She asked with confidence. Emma nodded, but Lily stayed quiet, watching carefully. Daniel just shrugged, not knowing what to say. Sophia laughed. You guys are quiet, huh? That's okay, I can talk for everyone. And she did. She told stories about her old school, about her favorite subjects, about how she wanted to join the drama club. Daniel listened carefully, almost impressed. She was like the opposite of him, bold, talkative, and sure of herself. When the bell rang, Daniel walked to his next class with a thought in his mind. This year will not be the same. New people, new challenges. I hope I can be ready. Block 17, the speech assignment. A few weeks later, Mr. Carter stood in front of the English class with a serious face. "This semester," he said, "each of you must give a speech in front of the class. It will be about something important to you." The room filled with whispers. Some students looked excited, others groaned. Daniel froze. His heart started racing. A speech? In front of everyone? His hands felt cold. Emma leaned over and whispered, "Don't worry, we can practice together." Lily frowned and whispered, "This is not fair for Daniel." She gave him a worried look. Jason, who sat near the back, smirked. "Can't wait to hear Daniel's speech," he said loudly. "Maybe we'll finally hear his voice." Some students laughed, and Daniel's ears burned red. Sophia turned to Jason. "That's mean. Everyone deserves a chance." Jason just shrugged, but Daniel felt a little thankful to Sophia for speaking up. That afternoon, Daniel couldn't think about anything else. A speech meant standing in front of all his classmates. It meant everyone looking at him. It meant no place to hide. At home, he sat at his desk with a blank paper. What could he talk about? He thought about his favorite books, about his friendship with Emma and Lily, about his fears. But the more he thought, the more nervous he became. Emma came over one evening to help. "Just write about something true," she suggested. "Maybe what it feels like to be shy." Daniel looked at her, surprised. "Talk about that." "Why not?" Emma smiled gently. "It's who you are, and people will listen." Lily disagreed. "But that's too personal. What if people laugh?" The two girls looked at Daniel. He didn't know what to say. Deep inside, he wanted to be brave. But the fear was heavy, like a stone inside his chest. Still, day by day, Daniel wrote a few lines. He practiced reading them quietly, his voice shaking. He stood in front of the mirror, pretending to look at a class. Sometimes he stuttered. Sometimes he stopped. But each time, he tried again. The speech day was coming, and Daniel felt like a storm was waiting for him. This is the end for today's video. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end of this story. I truly appreciate your time and energy. But don't stop here. Part 2 will be coming soon, so keep listening and learning with me. Remember, the only way to grow in English is to keep practicing every day. See you in the next part.